Welcome back to the third last video on Creativity Inc. And also thank you for your support. I'd like to thank you for your support on Shin Academy. And this video will talk about chapter 11 and 12. And chapter 11 is entitled The Unmade Future. And chapter 12 is entitled A New Challenge. I'm going to focus more on chapter 12. In chapter 11, basically the author tries to remind us that not to over worry about all the things that are happening in the company, because the artist in Pixar tends to strive for perfection. For example, every drawing that is in the animation should be perfect. But then, according to Catmull, you should always make your best guess. Hurry up, and if it's wrong, there's still time to change course. He said that if you're sailing across the ocean and your goal is to avoid the waves, why are you sailing in the first place? And in chapter 12, he talked about the challenge that he faced when Disney and Pixar merged. I should not say merge, maybe I should say when Disney bought over Pixar for 7.4 billion. Well, at that time, this was a surprise to the industry because publicly Disney and Pixar had a public falling out. Pixar were not really happy with Disney because at that time, Eisner, the CEO of Disney, announced a new division called Circle 7, which exercised the studio's right to make sequel to Pixar's film without their input. Well, even though Pixar hated Disney for doing that, Steve Jobs still has respect for the people in Disney because he understood that the marketing guys in Disney know more than him about marketing a film. And when Eisner was out, Bob Iger, the new CEO of Disney Animation, tried to repair the relationship between Pixar and Disney. And Steve Jobs has a lot of trust in Bob because the top shows on NBC were appearing in iTunes. Bob gave the rights to Apple to publish ABC shows in iTunes, and somehow the relationship was built between Bob and Steve. And according to Steve, it's the best for Pixar to be bought by Disney because of two reasons. First, the marketing and distribution power of Disney. Secondly, the protection that Disney is going to give to Pixar. And in the end, the 7.4 billion deal went through, and Steve Jobs managed to bargain. Steve Jobs, John, and Ed managed to bargain that John and Ed will be put in charge of both this Pixar and Disney Animation Studio. And basically, they are going to become the new boss of these both animation studios. But Ed at that time was not sure whether if the method used in Pixar will work in Disney Animation. And Steve Jobs reminded Ed when he talked about the story on Meg and Lisa. At that time, he was being assigned to manage the Lisa team, and for them, he said that he was wrong in demotivating the Lisa team, crushed their spirit, and in the end, he made that Lisa team lost because of his character in making them feel less important. So he reminded Ed to make sure that they do not want to make people at Disney feel that they have lost in this merger. So at that time, the lack of individualism was a big problem for Disney. Like for example, the cube design or the office design there are almost no natural lights. It's like a dungeon-like environment. It's not an environment that you would like to be in to be creative. So at that time, he took the effort to fix all that, the exterior, and he also talked to each people to identify the leader. And surprisingly, the leader of Circle 7, the studio that the former CEO of Disney wanted to replace, wanted to use, or what I should say, the studio that was created to replace Pixar was picked. The leader was picked to helm important decisions. And at that time, there was this one problem for Disney. For a film that is being developed by Disney, there are 3 sets of notes. First, from the development department, second, from the head of the studio, and third, from the CEO himself. And it's like a checklist that the director has to follow. But these 3 different set of notes somehow create a problem for the Disney director, because they do not have a converged direction on how the film should be. And in order to solve all this problem, Pixar brought the concept of brain trust to Disney, and they had their own version of brain trust called story trust. And another problem that Ed was facing was that Pixar felt neglected, but he thinks that this is a good thing, because the solution is to have the new manager to step forward, so that new opportunities can be given to the more junior people to move up the ladder, and not overly dependent on Ed and John. And as a result of this merger, from these 4 posters, you can see the success of Pixar was being brought over to Disney Animation Studios. Hits like Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen, one of the best-selling animation of all time, and Big Hero 6, the animation that won an Oscar for Disney Animation Studio, were a direct success from the merger between Pixar and Disney Animation Studio. And there were several steps that were taken by Ed at that time. For example, first, he shut down Circle 7. He revived hand-drawn animation. He breaks the contract for everyone in Disney Animation Studio, because he feels that a person should not be tied to a contract. And the film bonus is being handed out to the Disney Animation Studio staff, just like how they did in Pixar, with personalized letter to make sure that they felt important. And there was some story about Tangled. It was first being called as Rapunzel, but at that time they had a decision to change the name to Tangled, because they think that they do not want to relate a story just to like a character. For example, like they don't call Toy Story the Buzz Lightyear movie. So they had some, in the book they mentioned how the word Tangled came along, and it went on to become the second highest growing film after The Lion King. Story Trust was a success. Movies like Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen were products of Story Trust.